Hello and welcome to a general overview of the subject of horses. I've had a lifetime love of these beautiful creatures, and today we're going to look at some basic information about horses. Hopefully this review will encourage you to do some in-depth research on the subject. My name is Dr. Robert A. Bob Rosser Jr., and I'm pleased to have you join us to learn about horses. Introduction. The horse has evolved over the past 45 to 55 million years from a small, multi-toed creature into a large, single-toed animal of today. Humans began domesticating horses around 4000 BC. There is an extensive specialized vocabulary used to describe equine, horse-related concepts, covering everything from anatomy to life stages, size, colors, markings, breeds, locomotion, and behavior. Horses are adapted to run, allowing them to quickly escape predators. They possess an excellent sense of balance, a strong fight-or-flight response. Related to this need to flee from predators in the wild is an unusual trait. Horses are able to sleep, both standing up and lying down, with younger horses tending to sleep significantly more than adults. Female horses, called mares, carry their young for approximately 11 months, and a young horse, called a foal, can stand and run shortly after birth. Most domesticated horses begin training under saddle or in harness between the ages of 2 and 4. They reach full adult development by age 5 and have an average lifespan of between 25 and 30 years. Horse breeds are loosely divided into 3 categories based on general temperament. There's the spirited or hot bloods with speed and endurance. There's the cold bloods, such as draft horses and some ponies, suitable for heavy work, and warm bloods developed from crosses between the hot bloods and the cold bloods, often focusing on creating breeds for specific riding purposes, particularly in Europe. There are more than 300 breeds of horse in the world today, developed for many uses. Humans and horses interact in a wide variety of sport competitions and non-competitive recreational pursuits, as well as working in activities such as police work, agriculture, entertainment, and even therapy. Horses were historically used in warfare, from which a variety of riding and driving techniques developed, using many different styles of equipment and methods of control. Many products are derived from horses, including meat, milk, hide, hair, bone, and even pharmaceuticals extracted from the urine of pregnant mares. Humans provide domesticated horses with food, water, and shelter, as well as attention. Some biology. Specific terms and specialized language are used to describe equine anatomy, different life stages, and colors and breeds. Depending on breed, management, and environment, the modern domestic horse has a life expectancy of 25 to 30 years. Uncommonly, a few animals live into their 40s, occasionally beyond. The oldest verifiable record is Old Billy, a 19th century horse that lived to the age of 62. In modern times, Sugar Puff, who was listed as the Guinness World Records as the world's oldest living pony, died in 2007 at age 56. Regardless of a horse or pony's actual birth date, for most competition purposes, a year is added to its age each January 1st of every year. That's in the Northern Hemisphere, and each August the 1st in the Southern Hemisphere. The exception is in endurance riding, where the minimum age to compete is based on the animal's actual calendar age. Now some terminology. A foal. A foal can be either sex, less than 1 year old. A nursing foal is sometimes called a suckling, and a foal that has been weaned is called a weanling. Most domesticated foals are weaned 5 to 7 months of age, although foals can be weaned at 4 months with no adverse physical effects. A yearling. is a horse of either sex that is between 1 and 2 years old. A colt, that's a male horse under the age of 4. A common terminology error is to call any young horse a colt, when the term actually only refers to young male horses. A filly, a female horse under the age of 4. A mare, a female horse 4 years old and older. Stallion is a non-castrated male 4 years old and older. The term horse is sometimes used colloquially to refer specifically to a stallion. And a gelding is a castrated male horse of any age. Size and measurement. The height of horses is measured at the highest point of the withers where the neck meets the back. This point is used because it's a stable point of the anatomy, unlike the head or neck, which move up and down in relation to the body of the horse. In English-speaking countries, the height of horses is often measured in units of hands and inches. 1 hand is equal to 4 inches. The height is expressed as the number of full hands, followed by a point, and then a number of additional inches, and ending with the abbreviation H or HH for hands or hands high. Thus, a horse described as 15.2 hands or hands high. Thus, a horse described as such is 15 hands plus 2 inches. That's a total of 62 inches in height. The size of horses varies by breed. The size is also influenced by nutrition. Light riding horses usually range in height from 14 to 16 hands, that's 56 to 64 inches, and can weigh about 840 to 1,210 pounds. Larger riding horses usually start at about 15.2 hands, that's 62 inches, and often are as tall as 17 hands or 68 inches, and weighing from 1,100 to 1,320 pounds. Heavy or draft horses are usually at least 16 hands high and can be as tall as 18 hands, and they weigh from 1,500 to 2,200 pounds normally. The largest horse recorded was probably a Shire horse named Mammoth that was born in 1848. He stood 22.2 1/4 hands, that's 86 1/4 inches high, and his peak weight was estimated at 3,360 pounds. The current record holder for the world's smallest horse is Thumbelina, a fully mature miniature horse affected by dwarfism. She's only 17 inches tall and weighs just 57 pounds. Ponies. Ponies are taxonomically the same as horses. The distinction between a horse and a pony is commonly drawn on the basis of height, especially for competition purposes. However, height alone is not dispositive. The difference between horses and ponies may also include aspects of phenotype, including conformation and temperament. The traditional height, standard height for a horse and a pony at maturity is 14.2 hands, that's 58 inches. An animal 14.2 or over is usually considered to be a horse, and one less than 14.2 hands, a pony. But there are many exceptions to the traditional standard. In Australia, ponies are considered to be under 14 hands. For competition in the Western Division of the United States Equestrian Federation, the cutoff is at 14.1 hands. The International Federation of Equine Sports, that's the world governing body for horse sport, uses metric measurements and defines a pony as being any horse measuring less than 148 centimeters at the withers without shoes, which is just over 14.2 hands or just under 14.2 and a half hands with shoes. Height is not the sole criteria for distinguishing horses from ponies. Breed registries for horses that typically produce individuals both under and over 14.2 hands consider all horses that breed to be horses regardless of their height. That's all animals of that breed to be horses regardless of their height. Conversely, some pony breeds may have features in common with horses, and individual animals may occasionally mature over 14.2 hands, but are still considered to be ponies. Ponies often exhibit thicker manes, tails, and overcoat. They also have proportionally shorter legs, wider barrels, heavier bones, shorter and thicker necks, short heads with broad foreheads. They may have calmer temperaments than horses, and also a high level of intelligence that may or may not be used to compare with human handlers. Compete with human handlers. Small size by itself is not an exclusive determinant. For example, the Shetland pony, which averages 10 hands, is considered a pony. Conversely, breeds such as the Falabella and other miniature horses, which can be no taller than 30 inches, are classified by the registry as very small horses, not ponies. Genetics. Horses have 64 chromosomes. The horse genome was separated in 2007. It contains 2.7 billion DNA pairs, which is larger than the dog genome, but smaller than the human genome or the bovine genome. The map is available to researchers. Then we get into colors and markings. Horses exhibit a diverse array of coat colors and distinctive markings, described by specialized vocabulary. Often, a horse is classified first by its coat color before breed or sex. Horses of the same color may be distinguished from one another by white markings, which, along with various spotting patterns, are inherited separately from coat color. Many genes that create horse coat colors and patterns have been identified. Current genetic tests can identify at least 13 different alleles influencing coat color, and research continues to discover new genes linked to specific traits. The basic coat colors of chestnut and black are determined by the melanocortin-1 receptor, also known as the extension gene or the red factor, as its recessive form is red or chestnut and its dominant form is black. Additional genes control suppression of black color to point coloration that results in a bay. Spotting patterns such as pinto or leopard, dilution genes such as palomino or dun, as well as graying and all other factors that create many possible coat colors found in horses. Horses have a white coat color are often mislabeled. A horse that looks white is usually a middle-aged or older gray. Grays are born a darker shade, get lighter as they age, but usually keep black skin underneath the white coat or the white hair. With the exception of the pink skin under white markings, the only horses properly called white are born with a predominantly white hair coat and pink skin, a fairly rare occurrence. Different and unrelated genetic factors can produce white coat colors in horses, including several different alleles of dominant white and Sabiano-1 gene. However, there are no albino horses defined as having both pink skin and red eyes. Reproduction and development. For horses, the gestation period lasts approximately 340 days, with an average range of 320 to 370. Pregnancy usually results in one foal. Twins are rare. Horses are a precocial species. This means they are born in an advanced state and able to feed themselves almost immediately. The foals are capable of standing and running within a short time following birth. Foals are usually born in the spring. The estrus cycle of the mare occurs roughly every 19 to 21 days and occurs from early spring into autumn. Most mares enter an estrus period during the winter and thus do not cycle for this period. Foals are generally weaned from their mothers between 4 and 6 months of age. Horses particularly colts, sometimes are physically capable of reproduction at about 18 months, but domesticated horses are rarely allowed to breed before the age of 3, especially females. Horses 4 years old are considered mature, although the skeleton continues to develop until the age of 6. Maturation also depends on the horse's size, breed, sex, and quality of care. Larger horses have larger bones. Therefore, not only do the bones take longer to form bone tissue, but the epiphyseal plates are larger and take longer to convert from cartilage to bone. The plates convert after the parts of the bones and are crucial to development. Depending on maturity, breed, and work expected, horses are usually put under saddle and trained between the ages of 2 and 4. Although thoroughbred racehorses are put on the track as young as the age of 2 in some countries, horses especially bred for sports such as dressage are generally not put under saddle until they are 3 or 4 years old, because their bones and muscles are not solidly developed. For endurance riding competition, horses are not deemed mature enough to compete until they are a full 60 calendar months or 5 years of age. The anatomy. The skeletal system. The horse skeleton composed of 205 bones. A significant difference between the horse skeleton and that of the human skeleton is the lack of a collarbone. Horses' forelimbs are attached to the spinal column by a powerful set of muscles, tendons, and ligaments that attach the shoulder blade to the torso. The horse's forelegs and hooves are also unique structures. Their leg bones are proportioned differently than those of a human. For example, the body part of what is called a horse's knee is actually made up of carpal bones that correspond to the human wrist. Similarly, the hock bones contains bones equivalent to those in the human ankle or heel. The lower leg bones of a horse correspond to the bones of a human hand or foot, and the fetlock, incorrectly called ankle, is actually the proximal sesamal bones between the cannon bones, a single equivalent to the horse metacarpal or metatarsal bones, and the proximal phalanges located where one finds the knuckles of a human. A horse also has no muscles in its legs below the knees and hock, only skin, hair, bone, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, and assorted specialized tissues that make up the hoof. Now, the hoof. The critical importance of the feet and legs is summed up by the traditional adage, no foot, no horse. The horse hoof begins with the distal phalanges of the equivalent to the human's fingertips or tip of the toe, surrounded by cartilage and often specialized, blood-rich, soft tissues such as the lamina. The exterior hoof wall and horn of the hoof is made of keratin, the same material as the human fingernail. The end result is that a horse weighing on an average of 1,100 pounds travels on the same bones as would a human on tiptoe. For the protection of the hoof under certain conditions, some horses have horseshoes placed on their feet by a professional farrier. The hoof continually grows, and most domesticated horses need to be trimmed and the horseshoes reset, if used, every 5 to 8 weeks. Though the hooves of horses in the wild wear down and regrow at a rate suitable to their terrain. Teeth. Horses are adapted to grazing. In an adult horse, there's 12 incisors in the front of the mouth, adapted to biting off the grass and other vegetation. There are 24 teeth adapted for chewing, the premolars and the molars at the back of the mouth. Stallions and geldings have 4 additional teeth just behind the incisors, a type of canine teeth called tushes. Some horses, both male and female, will also develop 1 to 4 very small vestigial teeth just behind the incisors. These canine teeth are called, some horses, both male and female, will also develop 1 to 4 very small vestige teeth in front of the molars, known as wolf teeth. They are generally removed because they can interfere with the bit. There's an empty interdigital space between the incisors and the molars, between the two, where the bit rests directly on the gums or the bars of the horse's mouth when the horse is bridled. An estimate of a horse's age can be made by looking at its teeth. The teeth continue to erupt throughout the life and are worn down by grazing. Therefore, the incisors show changes in the angle at which the chewing surfaces meet. This allows a very rough estimate of the horse's age, although diet and veterinary care can also affect the rate of tooth wear. Digestion. Horses are herbivores with a digestive system adapted to a forage diet of grasses and other plant material consumed steadily through the day. Therefore, compared to humans, they have a relatively small stomach, but a very long intestines to facilitate a steady flow of nutrients. A 1,000-pound horse will eat about 15 to 25 pounds of food per day under normal use and drink 10 to 12 gallons of water. Horses are not ruminants. They have only one stomach compartment. Like humans, but unlike humans, they can utilize cellulose, a major component of grass. Horses are hindgut fermenters. Cellulose fermentation by symbiotic bacteria occur in the cecum or water gut, which food goes through before reaching the large intestine. Horses cannot vomit, so digestive problems can quickly cause colic, leading to death. Senses. The horse's senses are based on their status as prey animals, where they must be aware of their surroundings at all times. They have the largest eyes of any land mammal and are lateral-eyed, meaning that their eyes are positioned on the side of their heads. This means that horses have a range of vision of more than 350 degrees, with approximately 65 degrees of that being binocular vision, and that they have two-color or dichromatic vision. Their color vision is somewhat like red-green color blindness in humans, where certain colors, especially red and related colors, appear as a shade of green. Their sense of smell, which is better than humans, is not quite as good as that of a dog. It's believed to play a key role in the social interaction of horses as well as detecting other key scents in the environment. Horses have two olfactory centers. The first center is in the nostrils or the nasal cavity, which analyze a wide range of odors. The second is located under the nasal cavity in the vomeral nasal organs, also called the Jacobson organs. These have a separate pathway to the brain and appear to primarily analyze pheromones. A horse's hearing is good, and the pinna of each ear can rotate up to 180 degrees, giving the potential for 360-degree hearing without having to move the head. Noise impacts the behavior of horses, and certain kind of noise may contribute to stress. In 2013, a study in the United Kingdom indicated that stabled horses were calmest in a quiet setting, or if listening to country music or classical music, but displayed signs of nervousness when listening to jazz or rock and roll music. This study also recommended keeping music under a volume of 21 decibels. An Australian study found that stabled racehorses listening to music and racehorses stabled where a radio was played had a higher overall rate of ulceration than horses stabled where there was no radio playing. So turn off your radio. Horses have a great sense of balance, due partly to their ability to feel their footing and partly to highly developed proprioception, the unconscious sense of where the body and limbs are all the time. A horse's sense of touch is well developed, the most sensitive areas around the eyes, ears, and nose. Horses are able to sense contact as subtle as an insect landing anywhere on the body. Horses have an advanced sense of taste, which allows them to sort through fodder and choose what they would like to eat, and their prehensile lips can easily sort even small grains. Horses generally will not eat poisonous plants. However, there are exceptions. Horses will occasionally eat toxic amounts of poisonous plants even when there is adequate healthy food. Now, behavior. Horses are prey animals with a strong fight or flight response. Their first reaction to a threat is to startle or usually flee, although they will stand their ground if their young are threatened. They also tend to be curious. When startled, they will often hesitate an instant to ascertain the cause of their fright and may not always flee from something that they perceive as non-threatening. Most light horses, riding breeds, were developed for speed, agility, alertness, and endurance, natural qualities that extend from their wild ancestors. However, through selective breeding, some breeds of horses are quite docile, particularly certain draft horses. Horses are herd animals with a clear hierarchy of rank, led by a dominant individual, usually a mare. They are also social creatures that form companionship attachments to their own species and to other animals, including humans. They communicate in various ways, including vocalization such as nickering or whinnying, mutual grooming, and body language. Many horses will become difficult to manage if they are isolated, but with training, horses can learn to accept a human as a companion and thus be comfortable away from other horses. However, when confined with sufficient companionship, exercise, or stimulation, individuals may develop stable vices, an assortment of bad habits, mostly stereotypes of psychological origin, that include wood chewing, wall kicking, weaving, that's rocking back and forth, and other problems. Domestication of the horse. Domestication of the horse most likely took place in Central Asia prior to 3500 BC. Two major sources of information were used to determine where and when the horse was first domesticated, and how the domesticated horse spread amongst the world. The first source is based on paleological and archaeological discoveries. The second source is a comparison of DNA obtained from modern horses to that of the bones and teeth of ancient horse remains. The earliest archaeological evidence for the domestication of the horse comes from sites in Ukraine and Kazakhstan, dating to approximately 3500 to 4000 BC. By 3000 BC, the horse was completely domesticated, and by 2000 BC, there was a sharp increase in the number of horse bones found in human settlements in northwestern Europe, indicating the spread of domestic horses throughout the continent. The most recent but most irrefutable evidence of domestication comes from sites where horse remains were interred with chariots in graves of the Sentasha and Petrovic cultures around 2100 BC. Domestication is also studied by using the genetic material of present-day horses and comparing it to the genetic material of the bones and teeth of horse remains found in archaeological and paleological excavations. The variation in the genetic material shows that very few wild stallions contributed to the domestic horse, while many mares were part of the early domesticated herds. This is reflected in the difference in genetic variation between the DNA that's passed along the paternal or sire line versus that passed along the maternal or the dam line. There are very low levels of Y chromosome variability, but a great deal of genetic variation in the mitochondrial DNA that comes from mares. There's also regional variation in mitochondrial DNA due to the inclusion of wild mares into domesticated herds. Another characteristic of domestication is an increase in coat color variation. In horses, this increased dramatically between 5000 BC and 3000 BC. Now we'll look at breeds. The concept of purebred bloodstock and a controlled written breed registry has come to be particularly significant and important in modern times. Sometimes purebred horses are incorrectly or inaccurately called thoroughbreds. Thoroughbred is a specific breed of horse, while a purebred is a horse or any other animal with a defined pedigree recognized by a breed registry. Horse breeds are groups of horses with distinctive characteristics that are transmitted consistently to their offspring, such as conformation, color, performance ability, or disposition. These inherited traits result from a combination of natural crosses and artificial selection methods. Horses that are selectively bred since their domestication have been selectively bred since their domestication. An early example of people who practiced selective horse breeding were the Bedouins, placing great value upon pure bloodlines. These pedigrees were originally transmitted via oral tradition. In the 14th century, Carthusian monks of southern Spain kept meticulous pedigrees of bloodstock lineages still found today in the Andalusian horse. Breeds developed to a need for form to function, the necessity to develop certain characteristics in order to perform a particular type of work. Thus, a powerful but refined breed such as the Andalusian developed as riding horses with an aptitude for dressage. Heavy draft horses were breeds developed out of a need to perform demanding farm work and pull heavy wagons. Other horse breeds have been developed specifically for light agricultural work, carriage and road work, various sports discipline, or simply as pets. Some breeds developed through centuries of crossing other breeds, while others descended from a single foundation sire, or limited, restricted foundation bloodstock. One of the earliest formal registries was the General Stud Book for Thoroughbreds, which began in 1791 and traced back to the foundation bloodstock for the breed. There are more than 300 horse breeds in the world today. Now we're going to look at horse breeds of North America. In man's ever-present quest for dominance and control, there has been no greater companion than the horse. Horses were in North America as early as 9 million years ago. That is such earlier than even the accounts of horses in the Bible. The time of extinction of wild horses in America has been pinpointed with reasonable accuracy. In all probability, horses roamed the continent as late as 8,000 years ago. The reason for their disappearance is not entirely clear. But when Columbus landed on American soil, not a single horse remained. However, on his second voyage, he brought horses to North America. Early American historical records from the 1500s indicate that many of the local Indians were terrified by the Spanish horses used in conquest. Other historical information reveals the first sizable catch of horses for the North American Indians came in the late 1600s when the Spanish colonists were massacred in the area of Santa Fe. For the first time, the local Indians had a sizable number of well-broken horses. There were many more scattered across the plains. From the 1700s on, the Plains Indians were well mounted. The horse population, even under minimal conditions, could double in size every 10 years. A band of horses would increase in numbers enormously in the next 100 years. The whole mode of life changed for the Plains Indians. The buffalo could be followed and hunted down in numbers, undreamed of before the acquisition of the horse. The tribes prospered. The Spanish settlers continued to come with more horses, mules, donkeys, and cattle. There were also the Indian traders, the Comancheros, the mountain men coming from the east to trap the beavers. It has been estimated at one time there was as many as 40,000 wild horses in North America. The Indian bands continued to steal horses whenever and wherever they could. It was easier to steal a well-trained horse than to run one down and have to break it. While a lot of North America was changing hands, there was a growing prosperity and a bullish market for horses. In the East, imported stock had gained a considerable appeal. Many such horses were possessed more Many such horses also possessed more comfortable gaits. Fortunately for the colonists, the price tags of a good stock had fallen and there was a craze for the imported breeds. By the end of the 1700s, all types of horses were in high demand, whether for carriages, racing, farming, or a combination of all three. Later in New England, as the roads improved, the country prospered. Heavier horses for pulling wagons and moving freight were needed. As the West has grown, there has been a slow development of the muscular little cow horse, or the quarter racer. Horse breeds. Horse breeds are loosely divided into three categories based on general temperament: hot bloods, speed and endurance; cold bloods, draft horses and ponies, and heavy work; and warm bloods, which is a cross between the hot bloods and the cold bloods, often focusing on creating breeds for specific purposes, particularly in Europe. There are more than 300 breeds in the world today, developed for many different uses. Horses and humans interact in a wide variety of sport competitions and non-competitive recreational pursuits, as well as working activities such as police work, agriculture, entertainment, and therapy. Horses were historically used in warfare, from which a wide variety of riding and driving techniques developed, using many different styles of equipment and methods of control. The 20 most popular horse breeds in the world. We'll go through these 1 through 20. Number 1 is Arabian. The Arabian has long been a favorite the world over. Hailing from the Arabian Peninsula, this breed is easy to spot with its distinctive head shape and high, proud tail carriage. It's thought to be one of the oldest breeds and is known for its spirit and endurance. Arabians are used today for many disciplines, including Western, saddle seat, and dressage. Quarter horse. This American breed is arguably the most popular breed in the United States, and the AQHA is the largest breed registry in the world. Known as the fastest breed of horse over short distances, quarter horses are popular mounts for both trail and competition. They're often used for Western pleasure riding and other Western events such as barrel racing, roping, and cutting. They can also make excellent hunt seat mounts and even race horses. Third is the thoroughbred. The thoroughbred is the best known for its use in horse racing. Developed in England in the 17th and 18th century, this breed is high-spirited and known for its heart. They make excellent sport horses and are used as hunters and jumpers, as mounts for dressage, polo, and fox hunting. Number 4 is the Tennessee Walker. This surprised me a little. The Tennessee Walker is a gaited breed of horse that's developed in the southern United States during the 18th century for uses on farms and plantations. Its smooth gait, such as the four-beat running walk, make it comfortable for riding long distances. So it was the mount of choice for many Civil War generals. Number 5 is the Morgan. Compact, brave, and agreeable, the Morgan horse is best known for its versatility. One of the oldest breeds developed in the United States, all Morgans trace back to the foundation sire figure. Small in stature but big in heart, they're used today as a riding horse, driving horse, excel in Western and saddle seat disciplines. The Morgan horse is also the state animal of Vermont. Number 6 is the Paint. The American Paint horse is a unique combination of the conformational characteristics of the Western stock horse and the colors of a pinto. While some people consider paint a color breed, the American Paint Horse Association considers them a true breed, as paints have a strict bloodline requirement and distinctive breed characteristics. Like the quarter horse, they excel in many Western disciplines and are used as pleasure mounts. Appaloosa. Developed by the Nez Perce Native American tribe in the Pacific Northwest, Appaloosas are best known for their colorful, spotted coat pattern. They are tough, independent, hardy, and sure-footed. With big bodies and sparse mane and tails, Appaloosa are often used as stock horses and pleasure mounts, and also make excellent trail horses. Number 8, the miniature horse. The miniature horse was developed in Europe in the 1600s. The breed's two registries have different height requirements, but the horses must fall under 34 to 38 inches, measured from the last hairs of the mane. While they're exceptionally small, they're considered horses and not ponies. In the past, the breed has been kept as pets by mobility and used for work in coal mines. Today, they're used as driving horses and sometimes even as service animals. Number 9 is the warm blood. Technically, warm bloods are not a breed, but a group that encompass a number of types and breeds, including the Hanoverian, the Holsteiner, the Oldenburg, and the Frankener. Warm bloods are characterized by open stud book policies and are known for their prowess as sports horses, excelling in jumping as well as dressage. Number 10 is the Andalusian. This Spanish breed originated in the Iberian Peninsula and was first recognized as a breed in the 15th century. It was known for its prowess as a war horse and prized by nobility. Their long, thick manes and tails, the Andalusian is strong, compact, and elegant. While in the past many different coat colors were found, most present-day Andalusians are gray or bay. Today they're used for dressage, driving, saddle seat, and jumping. Number 11 is the Hackney. Hackney horses and ponies are prized show, riding, and driving horses. According to the National Hackney Horse Association, Hackney horses have actually been on the endangered species list recently, but increased interest in carriage driving has resulted in increased demand for this unique breed. Today, Hackneys are accepted in brown, black, bay, and chestnut colors. They have small heads and ears and a refined body. Hackneys are known for their high-stepping gaits and general flashiness in the show ring. Number 12, the Belgian Draft. The Belgian Draft horse is a massive draft horse that measures between 16.2 and 17 hands tall. According to Equus magazine, Belgians were mostly bay when the breed originated, though today sorrel and roan colors are more common because of selective breeding. Belgians are kind, easy to work with, and very trainable. In addition to pulling disciplines like plowing, carriage driving, and drawing sleighs, Belgians are increasingly used for riding too. Number 13, the Shetland Pony. According to Oklahoma State University, the Shetland Pony is one of the oldest horse breeds to exist in Britain. These ponies were named after the Shetland Islands, where the ponies originated. These islands are bare and harsh, and the breed grew hardy to cope with this challenging environment. Shetlands typically stand about 19.3 hands high. Shetlands accepted by the breed standard can't grow taller than 10.2 hands. Most Shetlands are pets, but they can also tolerate in hand, and they can also compete in hand and be driven. Number 14 is the Gypsy Vaner. The Gypsy Vaner Horse Society states that the Gypsy Vaner is often called the people-sized draft horse. Standing between 14 and 15 hands tall on average, Gypsy Vaners have a broad, body of a draft horse, but come at a more manageable size. They're characterized by their noble feathers that flow from their knees and their hocks. While Gypsy Veiners come in any coat color, most people recognize Tobiano coat colors. This breed is relatively new to the United States, with the first horses arriving in 1996. Though new, the Gypsy Veiner has quickly grown in popularity. Number 15 is the Friesian. It's easy to recognize the visually striking Friesian horse. According to the Friesian Horse Association of North America, these horses were originally bred to encompass both bay and gray coat colors, but today black is the only color that's officially accepted. Friesians are also known for their long flowing manes and tails and fetlock hair. Friesians are suitable for many purposes, and you'll find them in the show ring. Friesians can be driven, ridden English and Western, jumped, schooled in dressage, and more. Number 16 is the Clydesdale. If you've ever marveled at the Budweiser wagon hitch, then you're already familiar with the Clydesdale. According to the Livestock Conservancy, Clydesdales originated in Scotland in the 1700s and were imported to America in the 1840s. Today, Clydesdales stand between 16 and 18 hands high and weigh between 16 and 1,800 pounds. Some larger Clydesdale can weigh as much as 2,200 pounds. There are less than 5,000 Clydesdales in the United States today, meaning this remarkable breed is considered to be threatened. Number 17 is the Standardbred. According to Equine Journal, every Standardbred today can trace its existence back to a single horse named Hamiltonian 10. When the breed originated, these trotting horses were required to achieve a standard time for trotting a mile, which is how the breed earned its name. The Standardbred breed has existed for more than 200 years, and these horses are increasingly used for more and more purposes. You'll find Standardbreds racing, and once retired, they're often retained as pleasure or show mounts. Number 18 is the Haflinger. The American Haflinger Registry states that a Haflinger breed first originated in medieval times, with the first documented present-day Haflinger being Foundation Stallion number 249 Foley, born in 1874. Haflingers are small horses that are versatile enough to be both ridden and driven. They're known for their golden coloring and white manes and tails. Haflingers take on many different disciplines today, from Western dressage to eventing to driving and more. Number 19 is the Peso Fino. Quick, athletic, and equipped with incredible stamina, the Peso Fino is becoming a highly popular breed in America. The Peso Fino Horse Association states that this breed is referred to as the smoothest horse in the world because of its rhythmical, quick-stepping gaits that allow a rider to sit in the saddle virtually without moving. Peso Finos come in any coat color and often have long manes and tails. Their natural gaits are incredibly comfortable, though they can also be trained to perform different gaits for competition. 20 is the Welsh Pony. According to the Welsh Pony and Cob Association of America, Welsh ponies are friendly, intelligent, and easy to train. These ponies have excellent temperaments and originated in southern Wales. Welsh ponies were imported to America in the 1880s and became the fastest growing breed in the country in the later 1900s. These ponies are highly versatile, and you'll find them competing in nearly every discipline today. After that physiological report on horses, I wanted to read to you a couple of articles about a couple of individuals that have been instrumental in the horse business. Roland D. Stanfield Sr. Roland Stanfield's influence on the quarter horse industry has had such an impact that 10 years after he left the business, Jim Scarborough from the Quarter Horse Journal wrote an extensive article about him. Some called him the first of the big spenders. Others called him reckless. He was probably a little of both, but the truth is that Roland Stanfield was a shrewd businessman who believed in the future of running quarter horses and had the guts to put his money where his mouth was. Roland Stanfield was the quarter horse business in a big way for a relatively short time. He operated his Stanfield Stallion Station in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma from 1958 through September 1962, and the impact left on the industry is still being felt today. A decade or more after he left the business, his $S brand could still be found on some of the top flight stallions and mares around the country. He was a fun-loving, generous man, but when it came down to business, he was always thinking about the future of the industry. When Stanfield came to the scene in 1958, the quarter horse world was at an important crossroad. 3 bars and top deck blood had taken the quarter horse tracks by storm, much to the consternation of some, but the squat bulldog type horses were winning the halter shows. Many horsemen were in doubt as to which way to breed, the longer streamlined quarter horse or the blockier built quarter horse. Stanfield showed them the way. Part of his theory was that a good horse is a good horse, regardless of breeding. Stanfield, whether he was actually thinking of it in this manner or not, directed the quarter horse public to both racing and halter horses. In addition to uncertainty about body type, there was also much apprehension among breeders and owners as to what a horse was worth. Again, Stanfield led the way. He bought horses as cheaply as possible, but he bought with confidence and didn't let price get in the way of owning what he thought was a good horse. Well-known names owned by Stanfield in the halter class were Pocochato by Pocohueno, Aces Lolita by Moore's Ace, Tamet, the winner of 44 Grand Championships, Strummer by Pretty Buck, and never defeated Grand Champion Hot Shot B. Stanfield definitely led the way in halter classes all over the country with these and other horses. The racehorse world should remember such names as Clabber Bar, son of 3 bars, Johnny Bull, Pig and String, Johnny Dial, the 1952 world champion, Tana Bar's Hank, 1960 and 61 champion colt, Paula Thomasina, Paula Laco, Myrna 3, Leo's Queen Bee, Maggie Dial, Gold Seeker, Sweetie Bar, Depth Charge, 16 Tons, Miss Wonder Bars, Sugary Bars, and others of equivalent importance. Stanfield led the way with these horses in the running end of the game, winning from horses owned and leased at one time by Stanfield garnered every conceivable honor in the quarter horse running world. Further proof of his good judgment in the fact that direct offspring from mares owned by Stanfield compiled fantastic records. Through 1971, the produce of his mares earned approximately $1,400,000 on quarter tracks. 15 were top AAA, 53 were AAA, 58 were AA, 24 were Arena Register of Merits, and 11 AQHA champions. 1 world champion running horse, 2 champion 2-year-old fillies, 1 champion 3-year-old filly, the world's richest quarter horses, and the numerous track record holders at various times. In addition, offspring from mares owned by Stanfield have won virtually all of the major championships, futurities, and derbies around the country at one time or another. Add to this list the names of the winners of grandsons and granddaughters of mares and stallions who made their names for themselves in the 70s. This story has no end, as good horses for generations to come will bear the stamp of Roland Stanfield. He gained the attention of the quarter horse world in a big way when in October of 1959, 2 of his horses, Tamet and Pocochato, made national news by winning the top stallion and filly grand championships at the International Quarter Horse Show in Chicago. A clean sweep by two Oklahoma horses had never happened in the history of the show. The Tulsa Tribune even published an editorial cartoon about the two history-making horses. 1 month later, more news came when Tamet won the grand championship at the American Royal Quarter Horse Show in Kansas City. Many claim this man, who grew up in Tulsa and graduated from Central High School, put together the best set of quarter horses to be found. He conducted two sales, one in 1959 and the other in 1962. Both were record setters. The 101 head of quarter horses at the Stanfield sale in November 1959 averaged $4,000 per head. $15 of 3 bars were in the offering, and the take of $406,000 was a record high in total dollars for a public quarter horse auction. Also included in the sale was Sugar-E bars by Sugar Bars, which later proved to be the first AAA AQHA champion of the breed. Stanfield's second and final dispersal sale on September 11, 1962 was another record breaker. A $647,000 gross, a $10,110 average, and $86,000 paid for Clever Bar were the magic numbers. All three figures were new highs for a quarter horse dispersal sale. Ladybird Leo and Leo's Queen Bee, both by Leo and out of Yeager's Lady J.A., tied for top-selling mare honors at $26,500 each. That day, the ranch in Broken Arrow was packed with buyers, horsemen, curiosity seekers, and locals who had heard about the sale and the free barbecue. Cars were lined up along the road surrounding the ranch, and Rowland said people from every state in the country attended. August Bush, Rowland's friend and customer, made sure there was a large Anheuser-Busch truck there dispersing the well-known brew. That year, the Broken Arrow Chamber of Commerce honored Stan for his contribution to the quarter horse industry and the Broken Arrow community. The two sales culminated what had been a profitable experience for Stan, but there were many obstacles, much skepticism, and not all his dealings had been peaches and cream. Stan was fond of telling about various horsemen proclaiming, "Here comes the sucker," as he walked up. They honestly thought I was a sucker because I paid what they asked for their horses. The man from Tulsa knew what he was doing and turned what many thought to be mistakes into handsome profits. According to knowledgeable sources, he did well by knowing his business and playing his cards right. Stan had a heritage for shooting for high stakes and dealing with big numbers. He was born in 1920 on a $8,000 ranch in northeast Oklahoma near Ketchum. His grandfather, Wade Stanfield, was one of the first U.S. Marshals in Indian Territory, and later a circuit judge for the Northeastern Circuit of Oklahoma. Wade Stanfield was one of the first developers of the Alloy oil field, and according to Stan, did very well in the oil business. Stan's father was born in Indian Territory and served in World War I. After being gassed in the war, he could no longer stand the rigors of running a ranch and settled in Tulsa in 1921, and later became the CFO of Williams Brothers Pipeline Company. Stan told of going to the ranch every weekend to visit his grandmother, and he spent all his summers there. As he related to the Quarter Horse Journal in February 1972, "I remember there were about 20 families who worked and lived on the ranch, and I vividly remember the purebred Percherons they purchased. One picture we used to have showed 22 teams of huge Percherons breaking bottomland. It was Stanfield's uncle who imported the first registered shorthorn cattle to Oklahoma in 1914. Stan's education at the University of Tulsa was interrupted when World War II and broke out. Captain Stan first served in Panama, then as an Air Force pilot operating out of the flight test section of Flight Field in Dayton, Ohio. He was a project engineer and a test pilot on the remote control aircraft that was being secretly developed at that time. We now know them as drones. In October 1945, his photo appeared in Life magazine as he pilots a robot plane from the mothership. And he goes on telling more about Stanfield here, but he was in the quarter horse business at a point in time when he was able to affect the business, and the sale of Clabber Bar was a record, and it was a record that turned the quarter horse industry around. And one more short article I want to read you a little bit about is about Jack Anderson. Jack Anderson caught the quarter horse fever in 1948 when the association was just getting off the ground. He was a hard worker, and all his life was a student and an athlete. He earned a football scholarship at Missouri University, then enlisted in the Naval Air Force and flew Corsairs off of aircraft carriers in the South Pacific. After graduating college, he moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and got involved in the oil boom. With good judgment and a little luck, Anderson was able to parlay his stake into some real money as an independent operator. Breeding for blondes. He dipped into the yellow horse vat of Hank Weiskamp's lines to increase his chances of striking gold, Palomino gold. He had a special fondness for yellow horses and set out to breed them. He bred Palomino stallions to sorrel horses in the pursuit of yellow foals. Then he went to the king breeder of the yellow horse, that's Hank Weiskamp in Colorado, and partnered with a friend on a colt named Sir Barton by Spot Cash by Skipper W. He later bought a son of Skipper W called Skippador. Other stallions he owned were Bosun, Taco Bar, Beetle Luck, and part interest in a full brother to Zanpar Bar. One of the colts Anderson raised was Buzzy Bars by Bud Warren's great horse Sugar Bars, and out of the yellow daughter of Bosun. Buzzy Bars stood grand champion at 50 Palomino Horse Breeders of America horse shows. Anderson was president of the Palomino Horse Breeders of America, the Oklahoma Palomino Breeders Association, the Oklahoma Quarter Horse Association. He was elected director to the AQHA in 1971 and served on the Public Information Committee. In 1974, the AJQHA World Championship show moved to Tulsa. Anderson served as the Youth Activities Committee and was a major force and volunteer in Tulsa that hosted the show. He was elected to the AQHA's Executive Committee in 1979 and became president in 1983. He was inducted into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame in 1996, the Oklahoma Quarter Horse Hall of Fame in 2006, the Palomino Horse Breeders of America Hall of Fame in 2008. I will discontinue boring you with additional facts that I have concerning horse breeders. Thank you for your attention.